my goal is really, I think that I'm very much a cheerleader, a dream maker. Maybe I'm even a fairy godmother, I don't know. But I'm here to help people to achieve that goal of book publication.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ron Roel, the host of 45 Forward, where my mission is to help you make the second half of life even better than the first. If you ever looked out at an iceberg filled with penguins and one of them was red, well, you'd notice it right away, right? Well, that's the spirit behind Red Penguin Books, a company that helps authors stand out and shares their voices with the world. In today's show, I'll be talking with Stephanie Larkin, the founder and president of Red Penguin, an independent book and web development company, which was launched in an unusual way. Stephanie also has an unusually passionate vision to help writers of all types realize their dream to become published authors. Joining Stephanie today is someone very special, her mother, Christine Rogeri, who is also now part of Red Penguin and who's proving that it's never too late to start a new chapter in life. So now, let's meet my guests, Stephanie Larkin and Christine Rogeri. Stephanie and Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Nice introduction.
So guys, as I intimated in the introduction, this is an unusual way to launch a publishing company. Stephanie sort of flipped the script. And so let's talk about that. Usually, people start books and then they move to digital platforms. You guys have gone the other way. So
Sure. So, yes, certainly I'm probably one of the very few publishers in the world who didn't either major in creative writing or do an internship with, Random House when I was in college. I came to it because I had started a web design company about 17, 18 years ago. And even that company was born out of necessity. It wasn't something that I said, oh, I'm dying to form a web design company. But my own husband was running a nonprofit organization, and their web designer, who was also their treasurer, embezzled all of the money. So the organization was left bankrupt and with no website. So one night over dinner, my husband had said, oh my gosh, we have no money and we have no website. And I said, well, I can't help with the money, but I can make you a website. How hard could it be? I'll read a book.
Right.
And I made them a website, and somebody heard and said, Stephanie, I heard you know how to make websites. And I made another one and another one. And by about the third or fourth one, I decided this could be a business. Why don't I incorporate? And I formed a company that at that time was called Red Penguin Web Solutions. And I decided to name it Red Penguin partly because I had a bit of a vision in my head of a lot of objects that looked the same, and one of them looked different. Maybe like the purple python or the crimson cow or something that there was a lot of sameness. And penguins are kind of cute. If there were a whole lot of penguins on an iceberg and one of them was red, you'd see it, he'd stand out. And Ron, I also have to tell you that at the beginning we didn't have a lot of money, so we could print all of our materials in black and white, and I just took a red Sharpie and I would just color one penguin red, and it worked. So Red Penguin Web Solutions was born quite a long, I think it was 2007 that we started that company, and that company is still going strong. We have loads and loads of schools, churches, nonprofits, and businesses that we handle websites and digital marketing for all over the tri-state area.
You are standing out. And
We are standing out. We are standing out. And then we were doing a lot of work for authors with their digital books and websites. And I was doing a lot of work for the National Writers Union. In fact, probably about 8 years ago or so, I was a keynote speaker at a National Writers Union event, and I was there to talk about websites. And I was sitting in the back of the auditorium waiting my turn, and there were authors and whatnot up on the stage talking. And I sat in the back and I thought, You know, a lot of our authors would say, well, I'd like to have a print book. How do I get published? And I'd say, I don't really know. And I was sitting there in the back and I said, hey, we could do that. So I came home from, giving my speech, and I came home and said to my husband, who's a good sport and goes along with the crazy ideas I have.
Yes.
I came home and said, hey, honey, I decided I'm opening a publishing company. And he said,
Of course you are.
of course you are. And of course, since we were already called Red Penguin Web Solutions, we were then called Red Penguin Books. And we added the book portion to it. People will often ask me if we are related to Penguin Books, Penguin, which is now also owned by Random House. And no, we just like the same bird. Penguin Random House publishes about 5,000 books a year. We publish about 100, much smaller Penguin, but one thing that's wonderful about us, and I love Penguin Random House, but I'm sure they can't name all of their books or all of their authors. And we most certainly can. We have them on speed dial. We are very family oriented, not just in our office, but with our clients. We have barbecues and parties, and all of our authors come. So we are a small independent press and absolutely love what we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So you flipped the script, and an interesting way, your mom has flipped the script in a different way, but usually, in family-oriented companies, it's the older generation that starts, and the younger generation that joins. But now, Chris, tell us how you joined the journey, and give us a little background about how you came into this situation.
Well, after my husband passed, and I moved back down to Queens, she was starting her business, and there.
I needed help.
Yes, yes. So I was a little bit acquainted with, we're talking about when computers first really started. I mean, I recall working on computers where we had a phone and we put it on the modem.
Oh, yes.
So
Remember
we
the
could
modem?
Yes, absolutely. So, I was familiar with how computers worked, and then I retired, and then my husband passed away, and then I moved back to Queens. But I understood a little bit how the computers
She's a champ
worked.
at it. She is a champ at it.
So Stephanie sat me down and taught me how to, data process and, get things up on the websites and change things that were up there.
She
and
can
put new
read
stuff up.
HTML code.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
Well, it's been a long time.
Yeah, but that's so you not only break the stereotype, you're 82, is that right?
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes, 82.
82, yes.
Yes. So you break the age stereotype, and you also break the family business stereotype. Yeah, and also the stereotype that I work with a lot of senior issues, and one of them is okay, how do you teach seniors technology, and they don't like it, and it's difficult. Well, you've basically broken that meme too. So you're a three-time stereotype breaker. I love it.
Stephanie will have somebody who will say to her, well, I can't do this email stuff.
'Cause I'm
because
60.
I'm 60 and I don't know how to do it. And she says to them, my mother works for me and she's 82. So
Exactly. So if
you
my
can
mother
do
can
it.
do it, our clients can do it.
Yes.
So how do you let's talk a little bit about your workplace. I mean, I want to. Well, in the third chapter, we'll talk in more in depth about that. But how do people respond to you, Christine? In terms of younger people working with you, are they surprised? I mean, they're probably a little bit surprised and maybe humiliated.
Really a very family business. My daughter's sister-in-law works for us. My grandson works for us. And two of her best friends from years ago. We're the office people, and then she's got lots of people who are working from home remotely. But so I've known these girls since her children were born, because their children are all the same age.
And
So-
also, you told me, and I found this fascinating, I think you might like this, Ron, that my mother has a lot of friends who work for their children. You'd mentioned
Yes.
other people who are working for their children. There might be someone who's working for their daughter who's a lawyer, someone who's working for their son who's an accountant. So I think that it's almost like a stage of life that the children might work for the parents, but at some point the parents are working for the children. I'm wondering which of my 3 children I'm going to work for at some point. I know which one it's going to be. We all know which one it's going to be. But Mom had mentioned that when she is, at a social event with other friends, she has other friends who are doing the same thing, and they are working for their children.
Yes.
So.
It's really interesting. One of them particularly has her son has several gas stations, and she does the payroll for them.
Wow,
That's a big deal.
that's a big deal to do payroll for several gas stations.
Yeah. So it's not as peculiar as it sounds.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there in this generational flip.
Yes,
you might say.
And 80 is the new 60.
80 is absolutely the new 60.
Pretty soon it's going to be the new 50, guys.
Yes, well, I think she's doing great. And for sure, if 80 is the new 60, I love that.
Yes.
Because that means that I'm only 30.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So let's talk about, again, now Stephanie, so you're changing the script in lots of ways. And I've worked with a few major publishers, and so you are very different. And so there are 2 different cultures I want to talk about. One you started to talk about, which is your sort of your workplace culture, which we'll get into a little bit more later. But first is the publishing culture. So, your mission is to change lives one book at a time. So talk a little bit about how you work with the authors, and and you're an author yourself. So I've read a little bit about you, and you've said that there's something truly transformative about seeing your name on the cover of a book, because at that moment you're not a writer, you're an author. So talk about how you work with authors, and how, also how you find them and they find you.
Yeah, well, they find me. They definitely find me. Most find me through someone else. I would say 99.9% of our business is referral. I'm not sure which percentage is not, because everyone comes through someone else. There was a survey a number of years ago, and I firmly believe this, that 90% of people surveyed want to write a book. And I definitely believe that, because when I walk into a room and I'm introduced and people say, oh, Stephanie is a publisher, everyone I meet, they wrote a book, they want to write a book, they've got a book in a drawer, they've got a book in a head, they have an idea, everybody wants to write a book. But only a very small percentage of them actually achieve what is a very, very common bucket list item. So my goal is really, I think that I'm very much a cheerleader, a dream maker. Maybe I'm even a fairy godmother, I don't know. But I'm here to help people to achieve that goal of book publication. And people have lots of reasons why they want to write a book. It could be because, they had such a crazy family that people have always said, you should write a book about that. Or they did something amazing. Or maybe it's a business owner who wants to write a book to get more clients and build their business. Or maybe someone has new grandchildren and they want to be able to share a children's book with the story. So there are as many reasons for writing a book as there are people. And we publish all of them. We do not specialize, because I wanted to be able to be there as a conduit for people, whatever their reason. If their reason is because they want to preserve family history, I'm there. If their reason is because, there are people who think in Technicolor. They dream like whole worlds, fantasy and science fiction, and I'm there to help for that too. So whatever the reason is, my first thing when I meet someone is, tell me why you are writing this book. And let's make that goal, let's make that dream happen. And there is nothing like seeing a person holding a book with their name on it. With their name on the book. There's nothing like it. It's an amazing moment. We are very celebratory, because like I said, it's really like it's like climbing Mount Everest. You did it. You did something that so many people want to do, and that's what I'm here for is to make it happen. Whatever your reason, whatever your goal.
And so you work very closely with authors,
Yes.
and you organize the books, and you have different anthologies, right?
We do. We also have an anthology series that my son, actually, who works for us, he
Okay.
dreamt it up during COVID. And there were so
Wow.
many people locked up during COVID, and we really couldn't do the things we wanted. And he thought, why don't we publish? We were publishing every 2 weeks a new anthology during COVID. We're down to about, every 2 months now because, things have gotten busier. But what the anthology series, and it has over 50 volumes, we would announce a topic. Maybe the topic was romance, or maybe the topic was winter, or the topic was, Christmas or robots. Or we have one that's just about cat mysteries.
Yes.
Pets on the Prowl. It's just about mysteries involving a pet. And people were
Wow.
home and they would write stories or poems and submit them. And we received submissions from 6 continents. The only one we don't have is Antarctica. And
Okay. Where penguins are.
where penguins are, exactly. And it was a
Right.
great way for people who were stuck in their house to have something to do and to be part of a community. And we would get on Zoom calls with all the authors and do readings and share these books. I have authors who are in 45 of our anthologies because every time we post, we're going to have a new theme. Even if they weren't comfortable writing in that genre, they would write. And we actually have kind of morphed our anthology. Now we do location-based. So we had one on Paris, one on Rome, one on London, New York just came out. We have California and Florida coming out, so people could write stories about going to Disney World or lying on the beach or whatever it might be. And it gets those creative juices going for a lot of people.
Now, I'm sure there are lots of little surprises and unexpected things in the publishing industry, as I've experienced myself. But tell us, so I know that you have a couple of very interesting stories, and one of them in particular shows your devotion to getting books out. And that's the book party you released to end all parties. So tell us that story. That's a good story.
Sometimes, if an author has a book event, we want those books to be at that event. And like any of us, Ron, we're at the mercy of printers and shipping companies and everything else. But we had a big event this past winter. Over 1,000 people were going to be there. They had ordered 1,000 books for an event. And there was a big snowstorm that came through the Northeast, and we were crossing our fingers that they would arrive on time. So I finally threw in the towel and said, I am not going to sit here and just hope that they come. And my assistant and very good friend, Denise, got in the car with me, and we drove New York, New Jersey, Delaware, down to Maryland. I called the printer in advance and said, I'm coming with a van. I'm not going to worry about these books. Put them in the back of my van. And we drove down. They loaded up 1,000 books into my van. We drove back, and I thought that this would just be a fun story to tell until we were crossing the Verrazano Bridge, and all of a sudden my car was overheating. And I got to the other side in Brooklyn, but boom, it was dead in the water. And I called my husband, who drove over. He had to actually borrow your car because your car was the only other car big enough to fit all the books. And drove to Brooklyn, and we transported all the boxes and then drove your car out to the book event. We will do anything and move mountains to support our authors. Right. And I hope they appreciate it. I know they did. Yes. I know they did. But, sometimes you got to drive 4 states away to make it happen.
So listen, let me switch back to Chris a little bit now and talk about how you work with the company. What sort of things do you do?
I have a couple of things that are like my job.
You do a lot of jobs. I don't even know if you can remember them all. You do a lot.
Well, one of them is with social media. Mm-hmm. And Stephanie has a couple of TV shows, YouTube shows like that. So I put them up on YouTube, I put them up on Facebook, I put them up on Instagram, I put them on LinkedIn. So something should be coming up every day on, on those various channels.
And I hope everyone heard the 82-year-old who just name dropped Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, yeah, all of that.
Well, I'm a big YouTube watcher, actually.
Yes, you're a
so
YouTube watcher, and now you're a content creator too.
And the other thing that I do is with our companies that work with us, who have their web people. They're not authors; they're web people. So we every week we change what their, whatever it is that they might be having. Happening that week. We put it on the front page of their website. Many of the churches, we do churches, and many of them I put the bulletins up every week so that they can see what's. But we also change their front page.
Yep.
They're having this kind of an affair or whatever, and I change their front page. And
you handle our calendars also for a lot of things.
So
and a lot of correspondence. My mother is actually our only staff member that is in both the web end and the book end. Most of us on the staff are either dealing with websites or dealing with books. You actually do both. You deal with websites on like the second half of the week, like Thursday and Friday, and she deals with books and authors on the early part of each week. So she has to know a lot.
Yeah. So let me ask. So for people who know your background, you started out.
Not in this.
A good part of your yes.
No, but working in the post office as a manager, toward the end of my career, and I'll never forget it. I just mentioned, when typing things and you want to get it to the mainframe, and in those days, because I'm talking about early 70s, it was quite a big deal for all of us, doing this kind of thing. Like I said, put the phone on the modem and feed in the information that you've put on. So, but I was fascinated by the very fact that it worked. In fact, even before that, years and years ago, when I first got a job, I was working for the telephone company. And I was fascinated by the fact that we could type something in the main office and they got it at the maintenance office. It was not a fax, it was kind of like telegraphing. But it was really very cool, and it kind of makes you aware that these kind of things are going to be happening, and you want to be on the train when it comes.
Exactly. Well, it's funny you mentioned the word mainframe computer. I forgot that's what they were called.
Yeah.
And now we have the cloud.
Yes. But those mainframe computers, they were in a building all by themselves, and it was freezing in that building.
Right.
A long time ago.
Long time ago.
Computers started first.
But you were
out.
right there on the ground floor.
Yes.
So when she came to work for a computer company, it was easy.
It was it was challenging. It really was. It was challenging, and certainly I enjoy the challenge. I think it keeps my brain going.
It sure does.
Right. Well, that's what we know is that as you get older, it's important to keep your brain primed, because there is a notion to use it or lose it, and you're certainly using it. Yeah. It's interesting because of course in those days, the earlier days of the mainframes, right? That when they first came on. We know that there were a couple of movies now about, rise of the rocket women and Hidden Figures, where women were really the human computers, right? and the people who were actually, I guess that they were. This talks about the space, program, but it's the women who did all the calculations to get the satellites and the rockets up. When the mainframes came on board initially. People were like, well, I think let me check what the women are doing. That I have more, confidence in that. So, this is another chapter for you. So let me ask you about. So what have you, Chris, and you, Stephanie, have learned about working together? That that sort of changed your relationship or enriched you in ways you didn't expect?
I love, and I am so spoiled by the fact that I get to spend so much time with my mother. I know many of my friends are incredibly envious of how much time I get to spend with my mother. She's also our office mom, so I do share her because
Yes, because her friends are her age, so
yes, my friends are my age and unfortunately don't get to spend the time with their mothers. So they are thrilled to have a mom in the office who takes care of all of us.
I do have to be careful.
She's a little bossy.
Yeah, I do have to be careful.
She's definitely a little bit bossy. And I got to tell you, when she gets bossy, my staff thinks it's the most hilarious thing in the world that she's bossing around. That's okay. And she's also by far the best dressed in the office because she remembers, going to an office and everything coordinates.
Yes, I get dressed like I go to work.
Right, and I will often dress just because I'm on screens all
Right.
day. They're in flip flops and fine by me. But yes, my mother comes in. There's always jewelry and the shoes and the bag. Everything matches. It's great.
Yeah. So Chris, is there anything that you learned that you didn't expect in working with your daughter that they would advise people
Oh,
to?
I'm terrified. Should I leave so you could be honest?
No, not at all. Yes, you learn plenty of things. And the fact of the matter is, when I'm at work, I try very hard, regardless of what she says, to be an employee.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Okay. I'm one of, the 4 people who are working for her who are in the office all the time. And yes, she says I'm bossy, but really and truly, I try very hard to be an employee and equal with everybody else. I don't want, special treatment in any way.
Well, the fact is you were in a huge leadership position, so you have that innately.
Yeah, but I have to be careful. And sometimes when you're very close with your children, you say stuff as a mother, and the girls will just die.
They will. Because my mother gets away with saying things to me that I know she wouldn't say to my brother.
I think it's made us even closer because we have so much in common. Because when she starts talking about things that are going on at work, I was there.
Yes, you were.
So
yes, we all grouse about the same things. We know what went wrong or what went right, and to celebrate on. It's
Yes. The other thing I want to mention to you about her authors, very often an author will come into the office for lunch. So all of us get to meet that author. So the author has a personal relationship with the entire office. It's not just,
It's not just me, too. They meet everybody.
Yeah, they meet everybody. And then, on top of that, she has parties in her home and invites all the authors so they meet each other.
Yep.
It's really...
we are family oriented like that. That's why
Yes.
the Red Penguin family is not just me and my mom. It's not just our office, which is very close family, but our clients are family.
Yes.
If somebody has a loss, we send them, flowers and a card. If somebody has a baby, they're getting a new gift for that baby. We are huge about all of our authors feeling as much part of our family as we are with each other in our office. That's important to me.
Yeah. Well, that certainly is different from traditional publishing because most of the time they're just worried about how many books
I'm
are we
sure
going to sell.
Random House does not send baby gifts.
No.
Or pens or champagne glasses.
Oh, yes. We send champagne every time a book is
gets
published. And yes, I'm sure Random House doesn't do
they
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, other than coming to Red Penguin, any advice for either you in terms of if somebody, you mentioned before, everyone has a book in them. If someone is coming, to midlife and has a book in them, any advice you'd give them as to what to think about?
Whether you come to Red Penguin or not, and I would welcome you with open arms, but certainly don't be afraid do it. If you want to do it, do it. One thing technology-wise that works for a lot of our authors, I will admit myself, as a book publisher, I am a terrible typist. Terrible. Two fingers. I'm really, I can't type at all. But the way a lot of people write books now, including myself, my whole last book was written via dictation. Your phone now will take dictation. You can talk to it and it'll show up the words right there on the screen. So I've been advising authors who would like to say their book out loud. Go for a walk. Just say it out loud. It's a great way instead of sitting there at a computer and typing. And as I said, my most recent book that just came out over the summer, I'd say at least 90% of that was dictated. That's just the way I work better than sitting at a computer. So if you would like to write a book, do it. There are a million writers groups. There are many that have sprung up online during COVID. Go to Facebook and look for writers groups, people who will support you. We have writers groups ourselves. I'd love to include you in ours, but don't shy away from it. If you want to do it, do it. Whether or not it gets published, if you have a story in you, true, fiction, whatever it might be, get it out. I'm all about it.
So, in terms of getting it out, let's conclude by letting people know how to get in touch with you and your work. I know you've got a couple of podcasts yourself. So, tell us about what's the best way to contact you.
Probably the best way is just run over to redpenguinbooks.com. Red like the color, penguin like the bird, and books.com has links to all of our books, also all of our shows. We have a number of different podcasts. I also host a cable television show that goes out all over Long Island and New York City. Links to all of those things are at redpenguinbooks.com. You could also find us whether you're on Instagram, our handle is Red Penguin Books, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. We're at all of those places. Or if you just Google Red Penguin Books, you are definitely going to find us somewhere. Stephanie Larkin, you can find us any place on the web, and please tell us that Ron sent you.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, there's always much more to talk about, many more stories, but we'll have to leave it there for today. But thanks for sharing your story and reminding us that reinvention is not only possible, but it's very powerful. So once again, folks, this has been Ron Roel, host of 45 Forward. If you want to know more about me, go to 45forward.org, and you can listen to all my podcasts and see them on there. And if you have suggestions or questions, send them to Ron at 45forward.org. So in the meantime, folks, as we all go forward to the next episode, look for 45 Forward.